Hello, everyone. So this is another LetUsTalkIt session with a very interesting speaker, Ashriya. She's a global agile coach at Experian, and she's going to talk about navigating change as a leader. I believe it's a very topical discussion for now. So let's get started. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for the introduction and for having me as a speaker. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar on navigating change as a leader. I am excited to have you all here and super excited to share what I know from my experience of last 18 years. So we will be discussing about the kind of leadership that's required for effectively managing change. Now, this is a leadership that is not just required for an organization to grow, but it's a leadership that you want in yourself to grow yourself as a person, as an individual, and as a leader as well. So it doesn't matter what role you are in. You may be a homemaker or you may be a marketing specialist. Leadership is something that is required for each and every level. I can see some acts of leadership when my son comes and show me his report card. So I don't think leadership is age specific too. So we will be talking about things that I have come across in my own experience and things that have surprised me. Few things goes against my own assumptions of what leadership is. So I have also developed this understanding over time. So I will be sharing practical tips that you can use in your work or life. Plus, you have a bonus template on circle of influence and control if you are going to stay till the end of the webinar. It's just 30 minutes, and I'm sure that you will enjoy the conversation. And now, without further ado, let's start with the topic. So when we say navigating change as a leader, I'm not referring to one's seniority or job title in the organization, because the act of leadership has nothing to do with one's position on the org chart of a company. It is said by Donald H. McGannon in early 1980s that leadership is an action, not a position. And I like to quote him several times during my coaching conversations also. Donald is known for bringing voice to the voice of responsibility in broadcasting industry. So this phrase epitomizes one's leadership philosophy. People become leaders by what they do and not the authority they are given or the job title they hold. So as we talked about leadership a little bit, I also want to talk about change. So now let's see what change is. We first need to be clear that changes cannot be imposed on people in the form of new practices. Changes that are imposed are not going to last. When opportunity comes, people revert to old ways of working. And it's not just true for an organization, it can be true for any individual. You cannot force any new habits on people unless they want to change themselves. So change agents should evangelize the why for the change rather than the how. Upon understanding the intent and the reason for the change, people will be coming up with their own creative ways of implementing that change. We should also acknowledge that people will feel vulnerable, threatened, and uncomfortable when their existing values, ways of working, and behaviors are questioned or challenged. If you are responsible for leading the change in the organization, you should also address those vulnerabilities and have courageous conversations with your people. Make them comfortable, provide them the time and space to learn about the change, and allow them to test it out, and let them share their initial observations. Use these results to further your change implementation method in the organization. Encourage them to have an open mind or a growth mindset. Growth mindset, by the way, is a buzzword these days. And you can find a lot of articles and plenty of information on how you can develop that growth mindset. So let's understand why change is hard. We all know that change is a continuous process. The only thing constant is change. We know it, but why are we afraid of it? Because, yes, the change is hard and for various reasons. And I don't want to judge anybody just because they say no for a change or they are denying that change. We have to accept that it is, although hard, it is, however, you can manage the change by managing your own responses or emotions towards the change. Yes, it is hard, accept that. So for example, if you are on the call right now, think about a personal or professional change you are undergoing currently. So what emotions are you experiencing? Are you excited about this change, or are you worried or afraid? Your emotion or response will be dependent on how is this change impacting you. The change may impact you positively or negatively. So some changes impacts same change may impact different people differently. We cannot have a one size fit all implementation approach. It will not work. So again, bringing it back, motivate your people for the change and let them find a way to implement it. So talking more about the emotions, let us classify the emotions into 4 types. As also the very famous change curve model goes, it says there are 4 stages in a change process, the way you react to the change. The first is denial. Denial that, yes, people are just talking about it, it's not gonna happen, I don't have to do anything about it, just ignore that. Resistance. Your denial will be there for few days or few weeks until it becomes reality. And as you were in the denial state for a long time, you will have resistance, because first you are surprised, how come this became a reality, I was not expecting this. So resistance is natural, it is common, and there is no need to judge people because they are resisting to a change. Next step is exploration. Sometimes you give up, or you understand the purpose of the change and you want to explore why this change is important, and then it leads to commitment. So exploration stage is very important, where people are showing interest to identify what this change is, understand their role in that, and if they find that motivating, definitely they will make the commitment to embrace that change. So these 4 stages are part of change curve model, not invented by me, it's existing since years. So sometimes you start with the denial phase and you progress your way towards commitment. Sometimes you directly land up at the commitment stage because you understand it at one shot, and you have always felt that this is the kind of change you needed. So different people behaves differently when change comes. Now let me share some strategies for managing your responses to the change. So let us talk about these stages one by one. The first one is denial. So when we first hear about a change that will affect us, especially one that feels negative, we may want to ignore it or deny that it will really happen. We may also feel cynical that the change has failed before, or that it's unrealistic and won't really be initiated. And we may avoid talking about it or having a discussion about it, and we will just dismiss it as another speculation. So if it sounds like this will never happen, you can take this action, that is, ask for more information about this change. Be curious and open minded and challenge your own assumptions. If the change sound like that can't be true, the action you can take is directly address anything that you may think as a rumor. And if you think that although people are talking about it, I hear some talks about it, that won't work, even if you implement that. So the action to take for this emotion is listen for the rationale for the change and the potential benefits. The second phase is resistance. So as the change starts to become a reality, of course, we don't like it if we are coming from a denial stage. So we become clear about the specific impact on the way we work, our behaviors, and what is expected of us. We may see new challenges and have more information that makes us concerned and can lead to resisting the change. And now this resistance may come from any of these 2 things: will issue or a skill issue. Now, will issue is something that is directly challenging my value system, something that I have practiced as a principle for years and years. My understanding and the belief system is challenged. It becomes a will issue for me because I am resisting it, not because I don't have skills, but because it challenges me as an individual. The second reason could be skill issue. Like maybe I am doing manual testing right now, and suddenly I am asked to learn automation. And uh, if someone saying no to this, it doesn't mean that they are lazy or they don't want to learn. It may be that their personal circumstances doesn't allow them the time and space for learning. Apart from doing their regular job, you don't know what state people are in. Especially after the pandemic, the situations have changed a lot for people. Their personal lives are impacted, so you don't know who is at what stage in their life. So don't judge people based on their responses. And again I'm saying this because it is important. So if you're in a resistant stage, and if it sounds like that's unfair, I won't do it, the action to take is share your concerns with your leader. So if you have a manager or if you have a leader in the organization, share your concerns, let them address it. Or if it sounds like it doesn't make any sense, right? The change may be that, automation is good to a certain extent, but everyone need not transform. Ask for more details, like what is the vision, what is the strategy that we are pursuing. Or it could be that I don't understand how this will help. So ask questions, clarify the expectations, what is expected of you, and share your concerns productively in a way that it adds value to your career as well as the leader's vision. So for every emotion, I have a action example action that you can take. Of course, it's a guideline. I don't want to impose these actions, but these are, good things to consider when responding. The third stage is exploration. So at a certain point, we start to become more enthusiastic about the change for whatever reason. Maybe, we heard about this change and we started applying in different companies, but that didn't work. Or maybe it can be any reason. So for whatever reason, you wanted to explore. So we try to understand the benefits in this stage, and we are ready to try out and to see what it might look like to work in a new way. And this is where we start to get involved, start to talk about it with others on what is required, and then work on preparing ourselves. So if it sounds like, how can I help? The action you could take is ask for ways you can be involved in the change. If it sounds like, let's try it, the actions you can take is understand the goals and priorities and start working differently. If it sounds like, I have got an idea, tell me more, I've been thinking about this, the action you can take is take a risk to try out new behaviors and adopt these new changes. The last stage is commitment, where you have committed to do your best to make this change successful. So once we understand the expectations, we are comfortable with what's changing and what's expected of us, we are now ready and willing to behave in a new way, adopt new processes, use a new system, take on a new role or work or whatever working in a new way requires because of the change. So being committed also means that we share concerns immediately as they come up and ask for clarifications when we are not sure. So if it sounds like, I am ready, I have got all the information, the action to take is gain clarity on your role, expectations, priorities, so that you are not stepping on someone else's toes. You are supporting, not interfering. Uh, if it sounds like, how do I get started? The action to take is start working in the new way and ask for clarification when you're not sure. If the question is that, what can I do? Then action to take is understand the behaviors and activities required and take the first step. So to boil it down into a summary form, the first step in addressing your emotion is to identify and acknowledge your emotion. The second thing is manage that emotion and express it in a way we are not disrespecting anyone. See, when changes comes, it does require some pre-work on those people who have brought this change. They might have done a lot of research about it. They have invested their time and effort. So respect all of that. Um, I find the 5 values of Scrum framework very helpful when drafting or sharing a response. And this may serve as a guideline for you all as well. So these values are reflected in the Scrum Guide, which is available for download. You can look for 2020 Scrum Guide. And I use the acronym 2CFOR, that is 2C4, to remember these Scrum values. So these 5 values are like 2Cs, they stands for courage and commitment. F is for focus, O is openness, and R is respect. So while responding, you should be open about your concern so that it gets addressed appropriately. And have an open mind too to listen to the response. We have to be clear about the choice of words, because when we get courageous, sometimes the choice of words are not good. They can be hurtful. So we should be mindful that we are not disrespecting anyone. Focus on the change, not on the person driving that change. Keep your bias aside and commit to do what's required of you to make it happen. The same commitment have to come from the organization also, in the form of commitment of time and space for employees so that they can learn the new skill and practice that new way of working. You cannot expect the change to happen overnight. So there are several benefits when you follow these guidelines. The first is like you will develop enthusiasm for the change, which is very much required for you to stay focused. You'll understand the benefits. There is increased engagement in the overall change process, because when you are involved and not just being a listener or participant, you are more engaged. Take action. We take action to prepare ourselves. We become more confident or comfortable with the change. We start to embrace this change, and we also actively starts to discuss any concerns openly and provide feedback in the moment. Now feedback in the moment means, as you see that this is the right time for me to share this observation, do it right then and there. Don't wait for opportunities like a meeting to happen or some event to be set up for you to share this. Always provide feedback in the moment. So now I talked about change. I've been talking about change for some time. So let us circle back on how leadership is demonstrated during the change process. Remember, you are a leader if you know the way in which you could participate in the change process. If you are a leader if you are part of a pilot group involved in testing out the change. You are a leader if you are sharing your ideas about the change. You are a leader if you are teaching, supporting, mentoring others in the process. And you are a leader if you are being a role model. Don't wait for the invite to come. Ask if you could join. Be curious and don't judge, and that will keep you in a remarkable position compared to your peers or those who are competing with you in the business. So let us also acknowledge that no change is permanent. And so why are we stressing so much about it? What we implemented 10 years ago is no longer valid. It was a change for those people 10 years back. Now we are moving to cloud technologies, we are learning AI, ML. But are those technologies still going to be relevant after 10 years? We don't know. So let's acknowledge that no change is permanent. Be open to inspect and adapt. Today's solutions are a result of yesterday's problems. So if today's solution that you have implemented starts to give problem in the future, it will be subject to change. And it's a natural process. So that's all I had. You will be getting some resources to go through, more information on this, and feel free to talk more about managing change with me on my social media. So if you're like-minded people, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's it, and thank you so much for listening.
That's great. Thank you very much for joining us today. Like, I believe that you shared very important information for our team, that to express themselves in the way that is benign for their mental health. So I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions, like what I got from it, and then we can also let some of our joiners also ask the questions. So you mentioned that acknowledging the change is very important, but sometimes change brings a lot of stress. So this initial stress, how would you deal with the stress effectively at the moment so you are calm and you are able to acknowledge it and move further?
So it all depends on the source of that stress. If the source of the stress is the absence of psychological safety in the organization, like you have some concerns and questions about the change, but you're not allowed to ask, then you need to make sure that people feel psychologically safe in the organization. They are not judged. Again, if the stress is coming from the fact that it may lead to increased work, then find ways to balance your work life.
Yes, so this is a very healthy approach to work. So I believe everyone will be very happy to hear it, and it will be very useful to our team. Even I got some, like important advices from it. So it's very important to, feel good about yourself and feel healthy inside yourself, and also I believe that trust people is also like, you have to tell and not afraid to be judged. You have to express yourself. So this is perfect. Okay,
Thank you.
guys, so do you want to ask any questions? Ravi, do you want to ask anything? Okay, so what we'll do, we'll wait for the questions in our YouTube channel, and then you can go and answer them as well if you want.
Yeah. On a lighter note, I want to leave everyone with a joke. As to your previous question, how do you manage stress? I said it depends on the source of that stress. So I was actually talking about it with somebody on over the phone call, and my husband was sitting in the hall. And after the call, he said, "Don't address me." So
Yes,
at home, there are situations where the family members bring stress, a lot of stress sometimes.
of course.
Uh, so that was the immediate reaction I got when I said this. So have fun in whatever you are doing. Even, you can deal with stress happily. Laugh at it, laugh about it, and get people to laugh with you, not at you.
Yeah, it
I
reduces
think
also
that will be
the
very
stress
helpful.
hormones.
Yeah, it is important to stay happy more than anything else.
Of course. Okay, thank you very much for joining us. Have a
Sure.
great day.
Thank you. You
Thank
have
you.
a great day too. Bye bye. Thank you for organizing this.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.